Guys, it's Jackie Mumphrey, the real estate maven, and I'm coming on live tonight because I wanted to share a couple of things about how people are killing their real estate deals, especially this time in the market. We're just coming down from the or ending the summer selling season, and what I'm seeing over and over again with the shift that's happening in the market, sellers are kind of acting as if it's still like an entirely seller's market. Buyers are acting like it's a market that we're still in back in 2007, 2008. And it's really just causing havoc in people's lives when it's time for them to come and basically, buy or sell a property. So I wanted to come to you guys today and share a little bit about, my thoughts and philosophies on what they should do to try to keep their deals together. So first thing is on buyers. The number one thing as a buyer that's important for you to do is to go through the pre-qualifying process if you're going to be using a loan to buy a home. And what I often see is a lot of buyers will just call me, for instance, call me or connect with me here on YouTube or on the internet, and they'll ask me questions about houses. Like the first question is, how much is this house? Or how much money do I have to put down? Where that's not really the way to go about it. If you know you're going to be borrowing money to buy a house, then the first step is to get pre-approved. And really what that takes is asking an agent who you plan on working with what lenders they recommend for you to start your process. Not all real estate agents are the same. Not all loan officers are the same. So you want to make sure you're connecting with someone who understands your needs and what you're looking for. So number one thing is buyers do not go get pre-qualified. You need like a copy of your driver's license. You'll need to get check stubs. You'll need to get bank statements together, tax returns. If you haven't filed taxes in a few years, it's going to be hard to get a regular institutional loan. If you have not been on your job or in the same industry for the last 2 years, it'll make it a little bit difficult. You need more than just credit to buy a house. Having 800 credit scores is not the holy grail when it comes to financing. You have to have other things and other factors that take in place. They look at your debt to income ratio. Are you spending more than a third of your income on bills? They look at that. They look at how long you've been renting. They look to see if you've had previous foreclosures or bankruptcies or lawsuits or child support, student loan debt. They look at all of that, especially if you're doing FHA or VA financing. So get pre-qualified. Sit down with a lender and give them all your information. Tell them your financial story because they're going to find out anyway, and find a loan that's right for you and the payment and interest rate that's right for you. One of the other things that get buyers to kind of torpedo themselves in the process is not turning in their paperwork or signing their paperwork that they need for the lender to give them money. You are borrowing money. One of the biggest misconceptions that I see out in the marketplace is that buyers think that all they need is the down payment. They don't ever anticipate having to have money for home inspections, appraisals, even termite inspections if the seller's not providing that, their own home warranty if they're buying the house as is. They don't it stacks up, and sometimes they just may not be ready to buy a house, but it takes more than 800 credit scores. It takes more than a down payment to buy a home. Okay. Now you can be one of those first time home buyers out there or have bought homes before, and you want to use some type of down payment assistance programs. Those even have their own requirements, because essentially what you're going through is two processes: a regular lending process, and then like the down payment assistance program has their own process, and you have to qualify that as income-based, credit score driven. It depends on how much money you have in the bank. It's a lot of other things that you have to apply for in order to qualify for those programs. But not timely putting in your paperwork it will really kill your deal. You won't even usually get started. But I just wanted to share that with you. A third thing, buyers become too picky. So you have to pay attention to what's going on in the marketplace right now. In Atlanta, and all of Atlanta, I pulled up 514 properties today because I have someone looking between $0 and $150,000 in Atlanta. There are only about 102, I believe, today. I'm sorry, below 100 is 102. When I went up to 150,000 in sales price, and there was 514 that were in Fulton County, DeKalb County, and Gwinnett County. So it sounds like there's a lot of houses. But when you start breaking down what your needs, and that's condos, townhouses, and single family, when you start breaking down what your needs are, you know, you have to have the 2-car garage, you have to have a specific school district, you have to have a certain age. Sometimes people want new construction. When you start stacking all of these requirements that are needed or that you desire, you start limiting the amount of houses that are available for you, and limiting it to that price point, especially if you're in the lower price points like the 150s. So putting in too many parameters and being too picky will keep you from being able to get into a house. Okay. Being too cheap about the process. I sold a house earlier this year where the buyer did not want to pay for a home inspection. They were short on funds. A home inspection is probably the most important thing as a buyer that you can control when it comes to buying a property. You want to inspect it because you want to get what you're paying for. You wouldn't buy a used car without getting it checked out. So you might as well spend the $300, $400, $500 to get the home inspected. And that might sound like a lot of money, but in my business, I would tell people all day long, $400 is worth spending to avoid a $400,000 mistake buying the wrong house. And you don't know what you have until you're in there. Now, most of the time, you'll probably be okay, but I just don't suggest it. I don't think it's good business to buy something that's costing hundreds of thousands of dollars and then not spending the money to have it inspected before you buy. You can buy it as is. You don't have to ask for any repairs. You could come back and negotiate and ask the seller to reduce some of the costs of the home associated with the home, or kick in more closing costs and get them to offset some costs that you have. Because remember, all the costs, you have to consider the appraisal, the inspection, the termite letters, home warranties, the down payment. You have to set aside prepays, which are escrowed for your payment if you're doing particular types of loans that are less than 20% equity down or 20% equity in the home. But that's basically it. Being too cheap, not protecting your asset by inspecting it. Also, too, an example the other day, I had a client who at the last minute decided to change their financing. So they were doing what was called like an FHA loan, Federal Housing Authority loan, through the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is also known as HUD. You probably have heard of HUD homes before. This wasn't a HUD home, but he was using one of their insured loan products to buy the property, and he was going to do a down payment assistance program. He opted to not do the down payment assistance program because he realized that his interest rate would be bumped up by participating in the program. And he felt that since he had strong credit scores, that he shouldn't have to have that high of an interest rate. Well, if you're not putting any money down, the lender still considers that to be a risk, even though you make really good money and you also have really good credit. If you're not putting any money down, it's still a risk to that lender. Okay, that lender doesn't really know you. So it's still a risk to that lender. And so he changed his financing at the last minute and decided he didn't want to do the down payment assistance program, that he was just going to go ahead and put money down. So that changed what he needed to bring to closing from about $1,700, $1,800. Watch this, from like $1,700, $1,800 all the way to having to put 3.5% of his sales price down. Okay. And so what that roughly came out to was about $7,500. And then he also had to contribute money to set up his escrows, and he had to contribute money to cover part of the closing costs that the seller didn't pay. The seller paid a pretty good portion of it. I negotiated for him, but the difference really was that he ended up all in total having to bring about $12,000 to the table, when before he'd only have to bring about $1,500. he was looking at the interest rate, but not looking at the money that he has to bring to closing. So at the end of the day, his payment didn't change because the loan amount was essentially the same. If you're putting down 3.5%, which is $3,500 per 100,000, in his case, he's putting down $7,000. It doesn't really factor into the payment very much. And I think after we did all the math based on the interest rate he got, he'd save $300 a month, basically. If he's saving $300 a year. Sorry, he's saving $360 a year by putting down more money than putting down less money. And the way I calculated it out, he would have to be in the house 9 years to recapture that money, okay, from the difference. So if you were in the house, like I said, let's call it 10 years, he would have been paying, he's saving $3,600. But that's it. So, and when he said that he doesn't plan on being in that property for more than a year, he actually put down relatively $12,000 that he didn't have to put down for him to only hold that property for a year, maybe two. So if you didn't follow that, just ask me some questions about that and I can get a little bit more in depth. But basically, he was being what we call Pennywise and pound foolish. So, like I said, being cheap on the interest rate, thinking that you are losing something when you are gaining more as far as paying more. Like, you have paying a higher interest rate. Well, if he paid the higher interest rate, he could have saved the 12 grand. So, to each his own. But I just thought that was maybe being not really looking at the long picture. And then I called him today to check on, how he was doing since he bought the property about a week or so ago. And he was like, I should have just went on and went with the down payment because I would have had so much more money in my pocket. The down payment program, I would have had so much more money in my pocket that I could have bought furniture. I could have fixed up, replaced the carpet, update the appliances. And I was like, I tried to tell you, but you didn't want to listen. So, but because, a lot of people, even though they don't do this for a living and they oftentimes will seek advice, they just go with what they think is right. And that's all we all pretty much can do. But when your professional is telling you, do it this way to save you a lot of money, that's probably the way you should consider. So basically not being pre-approved, not timely doing the paperwork, being cheap on the home inspections, not wanting to do home inspections, or being really unrealistic with what's in the market. You're not going to find, a $10,000 house that's worth $2 million in Atlanta. I don't think that exists anywhere in the world. The market, you have to pay attention to what's going on in the market. And also just being too picky on your options when it comes to financing. Be open, see what else is out there, because there's probably some better opportunities than what you think, especially when you're a professional who does this day in and day out, is trying to guide you in a direction that's going to put you in the best position. And not to make this video too much longer, but I do want to touch on some sellers. Now, I specialize a lot in working and representing sellers. And I often see the same thing over and over and over and over again. I know what they're going to say. I know, generally how they feel about their houses. They're living in a property and it's not really presenting very well. And the excuses that they use, how special people feel about, their property. So I'm just going to get into it. So the number one things that the seller does that kills their own deal is not being properly prepared to be on the market in the first place. Most people sell either out of an emotional need because they see that, their children are moving out or the children are moving back home or whatever the case might be. They move emotionally, like it's a time for them to have something new. Some people move for financial reasons. Either it's a divorce situation or somebody died or someone's been added to the family, a birth or a marriage, or they're just downsizing because of financial reasons. Some people have to, like I said, divorce or bankruptcy or what have you. So they sell for financial reasons. And I think that whenever people are in transition and they're going through a couple of things. They don't always think the most logical or the most strategic when it comes to selling property. So one of the things that I really do see over and over and over again, they are not properly prepared to go on the market mentally or financially in a lot of cases, or they're not savvy, business savvy. A lot of people think they are, but most people aren't. And so a good savvy real estate agent is going to be able to try to, meander their way through that seller's head to kind of get them where they need to be, which is sold. So just to give you some examples, when you put your house on the market, clean it. Number one, and keep it clean. I don't care if you have dogs, cats, relatives, guests out of town, whatever the case may be, clean your house. Cleaning your house conveys that you take care of your house. If you've got trash, if you've got, marks on the wall, take care of that. If you were going to put a car on the market, if you're going to sell your car and put it on Craigslist or put it on Auto Trader or what have you, you would at least clean it out and wash it, right? So do the same thing for your house. Look at it from the point of view of a buyer, because you want top dollar for your house. You have buyers willing to pay you top dollar for your house. However, you've got to present it like it's going to be a top dollar house. So the very first thing you should do is clean it. Even if you think it's clean, even if you have I don't care if you have a housekeeper come to your house twice a week, get a different housekeeper and have them come clean, have them do a deep clean, and you'll see that there's a difference. Put up dirty laundry, because it smells up closets, smells up bathrooms, smells up bedrooms, and smells will probably deter more people than a house that's unkept. Because people are very sensitive about what they smell, because they believe that that's what they're going to be stuck with when they buy the house, is the smells. So pets, big deal. If you have jumpy pets, they need to be out of the way for the showing. They just do. Otherwise, don't show it. Don't even put it on the market if you're going to let your dog or cat rule the house. A lot of people are very sensitive to animals. They don't want to be responsible for the animal in case something happens if they get out or anything like that. So have a plan for your pet. But be prepared mentally. You're going to have strangers in your house, and they're going to be judging you and judging the house. It's nothing intentional, and it's nothing personal. It's just what people do. They're spending their money, and your house is a product. And a lot of people don't realize that, but it becomes a product when it goes on the market. So clean it, fix all of the repairs. And I mean all of them. If you got burned out bulbs, replace them. If you've got gutters that are coming down, fix it. If you've got grass that's high, cut it. You have a leaky dishwasher, fix it. Leaky tub, fix it. Leaky sinks underneath the cabinets. I've seen plenty of houses where people are putting buckets underneath sinks. Fix it. Usually they just need like some caulking or some washers or something. Fix it. If you've got a broken window, replace it. If you've got a noisy garage door opener, put some WD-40 on it to help with that loud squeaky noise. If you smoke in the house, stop smoking in the house. It takes a house, in my opinion, about 3 to 4 months to kind of really try to get a lot of that stale cigarette smell out of it. So plan ahead if you're a smoker. Pet stains, gotta clean them. A house that has pet stains in it, it's just unattractive all the way around. Like I said, people are very sensitive about what they can smell, and they're sensitive about pets. And that's pretty much it. Get the yard together. If you've got tall grass, set aside a budget. Start working 6 months in advance and start doing little things around the house here and there that's going to help you get it sold. Next thing, be prepared for picky buyers. Kind of talked about the buyers being too picky, but be prepared for picky buyers. Oh, this is a big one. Sellers turning down the first offer they get on the table, or they countering above list price, or they're not offering anything, any kind of incentives. When people pay you full price, they offer you full price, they want the Taj Mahal. Like they want, architectural digest. They want it all. They're going to ask you for washer and dryers, refrigerators, closing costs, home warranty, termite bonds. They're going to ask you for this stuff, and they're going to give you full price. People are going to feel that the package should be a little bit more inclusive, kind of like when you go to a hotel and you're like, hey, I know that hotel's a little pricey, but I'm willing to pay that price because I want that house. But in exchange for buying that house and giving them their price, we want the refrigerator, we want the washer and dryer, we want that $10,000 chandelier that's in the family room. If stuff is not going to convey, you have to say it up front and price your house accordingly to that. And every seller, even the ones that are overpriced, they turn down that first offer because they feel as if they're giving their house away. No, you have it on the market to sell. And what I mean by turning down the first offer, I'm not talking about people who turn down offers that are $20,000 below list price unless the house is already $20,000 overvalued. But I have had offers where people have given full price, and the buyers have asked just for a couple $1,000s in closing costs, which is far and beyond normal for the Atlanta market for buyers to ask for some type of closing costs, especially if the house is in a popular area. And the seller turns it down and said, maybe we'll get something better. No, do you know how hard it is to recreate the magic of a brand new listing? That real estate agent, no matter who you hire, no matter what kind of marketing they do, the pictures they take, the description of the property they put on there, the flyers, the signs, the videos, the drone shots, the open houses, the caravans, it doesn't matter. That magic only has about a 10-day window. It could possibly be stretched to 3 weeks, but generally it's only a 10-day window when you're going to get the most excited buyers coming to take a look at your property. And if you screw it up by dilly-dallying too much with your contract, that buyer's going to walk. And that could be the difference of selling within the first 10 days or taking 3 months down the road to sell your house while you're eating maintenance costs and you're eating mortgages. Okay. And even if you don't have a mortgage, you have the weight of carrying this house for 3 months. You're in a relationship with a house that you really would prefer to go and have with another house. And save yourself some headache from being in a house you don't want. A lot of sellers do this, and I don't know why. Another deal killer is when the sellers overprice their house. I have taken overpriced listings. Any agent who has any longevity in the business has. Some agents, will say, I don't take overpriced listings. Yes, you do, especially if they're in your neighborhood or down the street from you. $1,000, $2,000, $10,000 over the market is not ridiculous unless it's in a lower price points below $150. If you're looking at houses at, $600,000, $700,000, $10,000 overpriced is not a big deal. That usually gets wiped away when the buyers start coming and writing their offers that are more in line with the market. That's not a big deal. But if you have a property that's, say, $5,000 over list price, and then you have a contract that comes in on the first day on the market, and it comes in $5,000 below, that's monopoly money. It's not real money till you actually get the check at the closing. And every dime that you try to save as a seller and say, okay, well, I'm not cleaning my house, I'm not doing any repairs, I'm selling it as is, and you're still overpriced, that doesn't make sense. There's no equilibrium in the market for that. The market is going to dictate what your house is worth. The appraiser is going to assess a value to it, and an appraisal is only as good as the day that appraisal is delivered to you as a seller. So that's not something that you can ride on for 6 months or a year or 2 years, because the market changes so swiftly. But your house is never going to sell for a dime more than what the market will bear. The market always dictates what the value is, and the market is a collection of what all buyers have paid for similar properties within that area in similar conditions, school districts, area, age, square footage, yard size. is that itself is the market. And so buyers look at that and use it as a benchmark or as a gold standard as to where they need to come in on price. And don't get me wrong, there are thousands upon thousands of buyers that pay over list prices for properties, but it depends on where the property is, depends on the condition of the property, depends on the market and where that property is. If properties in San Francisco are selling far over list price, where people are coming in paying cash on the difference between the sales price and the appraised value, when they come in and realize that their houses aren't worth the amount of money they're paying for. That's the market in San Francisco. In New York, there may be some similarities. In Vegas, Orlando, Jacksonville, Arizona, Houston, Dallas. But in Atlanta, the market is what it is. So don't overprice your properties. Keep them clean. Don't be over picky about which buyers that you want to have. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're holding a property for a lot longer than you need to because you're being stubborn and not open to the market. The comps don't lie. The appraisers, they're looking at the comps, and they're even more exact in their value as of the day they do those appraisals because they're comparing it per square footage and the school district and the condition of the property. You guys have to pay attention to the market. And I think that if you do, and you follow the advice of your real estate agent, and you hire a great real estate agent that takes great photos of your property, great descriptions, do the glossy photos, do the mailers, do the open houses, do the caravans, come in, bring the loan officer in, have them pre-approve every buyer before they come and see the house, going out into the community, marketing the property on social media and on Google and on Zillow, and marketing it to other agents, and going back 3 years to see what other agents might have sold something in that same area that was similar, and contacting them and finding other agents in other parts of the country and other parts of the world that might have a buyer or know someone that wants to buy your house. You can have all of that. You can hire an agent to do all of that. But if you don't do your part, your house will never sell. So if you guys have any questions about the real estate market, about buying or selling, want to learn about any more pitfalls, I could do more videos on that, about buying and selling in the Atlanta area, where the deals are in Atlanta. We could talk about foreclosures, whatever you want to talk about, just post in the comments below and I'll do a video responding to that. I hope that this has been helpful. I appreciate you guys as always for watching and for your support. And if there's anything I can do for you, feel free to contact me on my site at therealestatemavin.net or call me at 678-929-8330. I appreciate you guys for watching. Have a good night. Bye.